My name is Davis Wardwell. I'm 18
My name
years
is
old.
Lisa
My name is
Hannon.
Noah Blunt. I'm the student pastor here
Trio
at Westside.
Glenn. I'm actually Charlie's cousin.
David Thomas, here with Charlie.
Austin Gregory. Thank you for having
My
me.
name is Donovan
My name is
Jones.
Micah Aver. I'm a student at Lounge High
All
School.
right. Well, Mr. Charlie, you're going to lead us out here tonight on your Young Minds podcast.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are doing part 2 of Temptations with Davis Wardwell for our deep dive. And so in this section, we're going to go into drugs and alcohol and lying. So I will start this one. For a definition for like drug addiction would be that when a person's brain or the behavior leads to an inability to control the use of legal drug or medicines. And substances such as alcohol or marijuana or nicotine are also considered drugs, which I think I'd heard that fact before, that alcohol was considered like a drug, but, it's weird to think about it because they're somewhat separate,
I even heard that, like, alcohol is the worst drug. More people, I might be wrong about this. But, that harms more families. Like, more domestic abuse is the result of alcohol. Like,
Yep.
I would say that's the most scary drug.
Mm-hmm. Really. And here's some facts for you. Nearly half of college students, so our age group, use illicit drugs, which I'm not like, it's shocking, but at the same time, especially because I know the environment they're in, it's not as shocking. And the top 5 reasons for teen drug abuse is peer pressure and social influence, escape or self-medication, academic performance or pressure. And then, I think the biggest one, is coping with trauma, anxiety, or other, underlying mental health problems. If they don't know how to handle it. Because I think, if we talk about that a lot, I think, in school, or we try to, teens are developing minds. We struggle with, this and that and the other, and we don't know how to handle it. So where do we go? We go to, pornography, which was the last thing we talked about in part 1, or, we go to, drugs or whatever. And then, or we may lie about it, which we'll talk here in a little bit. So I think that's probably the main reason. There might be other reasons too, like family stuff or whatever, but that might be the main reason why people lean on it as such a crutch, especially in our age group.
It's obviously a gap that people are filling with this kind of things. And it just leads to you using more of that thing. It's like when you, when people take allergy medicine and it wears off after a few months and they have to find a new allergy medicine.
Yep.
It's just like that, just that people take more of it.
Yep. And so, some media influences, and the studies were showing that teens who watch movies that depict smoking or alcohol consumption are more likely to engage in those behaviors themselves.
Oh.
So, and what that made me think of, of course they still do it in today's movies, but a lot of older movies too. Because that's more just out there. It's just you see, it's not uncommon, for some college jockey, they just pull out an alcohol bottle and start swigging it, in an older film. And that's not to say that you shouldn't watch those films, because they're probably great films, but you have to watch for that kind of stuff. If you're easily influenced by that, don't watch it. Yep. And we have to be really careful about that kind of stuff, I think, especially with what we're watching on our phones and everything, like we talked about last episode. So
yeah, that's kind of crazy though, because I remember when people were getting really upset back in 2018 or something because Fortnite was causing kids to be violent. Yeah. And I was always thinking that was stupid, but this seems to have a different view on it.
And funny little nugget about that story is that's why I didn't play it the first when it came out.
Really?
Because I didn't want to get violent and start smacking my parents around.
I sure didn't care.
and because I didn't know, so I was like, well, I better not, because I don't want to hop on that bandwagon and start hurting people, but yeah, that was crazy. I remember that for sure. But here's some more facts for you. Marijuana is use is at a 30-year high among college students. That was kind of a shocking one. Some of these I'm not really surprised with because of the environment, like I said, that they're in.
Yeah. So do you think it's because it's so more easily attainable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, and you would think it'd be harder because of security and all that, and all, but no, it seems easier. And I think it goes back to what we talked about last episode with phones and technology and stuff. It's like, you can slip under the table or whatever. And that's just part of it. But I mean, I think the phones have definitely increased it in terms of how people can get stuff, how that, it ain't just like the guy don't have to meet you like, at the schoolyard or nothing and slip it behind the fence. Like you could do it wherever,
Right.
And that 61% of high school students have considered alcohol, then that's just more than a few sips, which, I read that, like, when I had that in parentheses, because I copied and pasted these, and it made me think of, like, when they would ask you that in the doctor's office, like, I have one of them big old long forms.
Does
and
anyone say yes?
I was like, and it says like, have you ever considered alcohol, but that more than just a few sips? And I'm thinking to myself, no, like, I have to but then I have to be careful because I try to check no for everything, and then I'm like, ooh, I shouldn't have said no for that. Got to scribble that out, like, but that's what it made me think of, like, and I never understood why they have to ask that, but I guess the way that how things are with like today's climate and everything, they have to ask that to make sure things are okay, I guess.
Yeah, and I think also if you consume alcohol and then you consume a prescription drug, it'll magnify that drug. So then maybe that's part of it.
I think that's probably, and the 23% have consumed alcohol by the 8th grade. That's crazy.
That one is a little more crazy to me.
That's crazy.
It's a fourth of 8th graders and younger.
That's
I always question, like, how do they get these surveys? Is that just who's admitting to it?
Right,
Is there another?
Well, as I was reading some of this, like for both episodes, I was like, who's admitting this? Like, I'm glad that they are, so we can know the numbers and things like that and make people aware. But how are they figuring this out? Unless if it's being like submitted after they get caught or something, like how is that being done? Like, and here's like a next one: 46% of 12th graders have been drunk at least once in their life.
You said 46?
46 of 12th graders, so seniors, high school seniors.
That's just sad, honestly.
Yeah, so almost half of almost 50%, which is, I'm thankful to not be one when I was a senior in high school. But and one thing that's hard for me to wrap my head around is, because they obviously know, but how do you get your hands on that stuff? Like, I have no earthly idea. Like, even if I wanted to, I don't. But if I ever wanted to, I have no way of knowing how. Like,
I think there's a lot of. I think this will shock you a little bit, but I mean, I really do think, and I don't have statistics to prove it, but I think there's a lot of parents who aren't Christians who let it slide and say it's okay for you to have a drink as long as you stay in our house, and then it becomes slowly it's okay to have a couple. It's okay if you go take it with your friends just for one. Yeah. Just be responsible. And I really do think that happens.
I think it all goes back to the parenting side of things too. You're right. It really does. And here's one that was pretty crazy. 9% of 8th graders have been drunk at least once in their life. So 9% of 8th graders have been. So that's even...
Wow.
Yeah.
And that I don't know how else you would get that as an 8th grader.
I don't know, unless if they were caught.
Because you can't even drive to go,
you can't.
Go, steal some or whatever.
No. So that has to be back with, like, the parents. And, again, like, we're not trying to trash people and how they're parenting their kids or anything, but there obviously is some truth to it, because how else would they be getting it? Like, unless they're just finding, I guess they're either that or, like, they might have just... It makes you wonder if they were are just stumbling across in one of the cabinets or whatever, and then they tried it once, and then ooh, like this, I like how this made me feel, and then so I wonder how much of it is like the parents egging it on themselves, or if it's just the kids finding it because it's an easy reach, or like a mixture of both. Like what, I wonder how much of each of it is.
That's a lesson for parents. If you have alcohol and you have children, keep it where they can't have it. It's just like guns. You don't leave those out. You shouldn't leave alcohol out. Yep. It's probably just as dangerous, if not more.
But here's some good news, though. The good news is that overall teen drug use among adolescents is declining. Teen drug, alcohol, and tobacco use are at their lowest rate since the 90s. Moreover, use of prescription drugs and heroin, and then cocaine and other things have been decreasing. So that's a good thing to know. That there's some good news there, is that it has been decreasing. I think finally it's kind of people figured out how bad some of these, and what it can do for you and how whack it is. And it can mess you up, like, it can kill you. So I think that's what scares a lot of, it should. Like, I'm not saying, like, oh, that's terrible, it scares them. No, it should scare them, like, because we don't want them to do that.
And I honestly think this whole, like, fentanyl problem has really made people's eyes have to be open on what's going on with drugs in this country. Yep.
I would definitely agree with that. And, of course, in Titus, it talks about, like, having, a sober mind, right? Well, you're not going to be able to make rational decisions if you don't have a sober mind. I mean, that's a simple statement, but it's so, and you don't know what rational or unrational decision you're going to make.
Sure.
It can change other people's lives or your own. So, and the thing that I've told people is, if you're thinking about, going into drugs and alcohol, just how about not? If you don't start, then you won't get addicted to it. Because there's a lot of people that if they try something once, they're hooked on it. And I think a lot of people today, you try something once, like, ooh, that was nice. Then you try it again, and try again until it becomes an addiction, and now you're stuck.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well, it's like like this quote has always said, and it kind of sums up the way I think about it, and we've talked about this. Alcohol, at best, is an unwise decision, and at worst, it's a sin. Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah, and I know that, like, we were talking about some of this, before, and like kind of like the limitations and all that, or like what's okay and what's not and all that,
Yeah.
But for me, I'm trying to touch it. I'm just trying not to touch it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if I don't start, then because of what I know about how my mind operates, especially what we talked about last episode, like with the pornography stuff, right? Mm-hmm. It happened once, and then look what how God had to get me out of it, right? Well, and I'm glad He brought me out. But my point to that is, if I wouldn't have started, I wouldn't have known. Well, it's the same thing with, drugs and alcohol. If you don't start, then you won't know how it's going to affect you, because it won't. Mm-hmm. You'll just stay away from it. And
I mean, if somebody told me, hey, if you try a sip of wine, there's a 1% chance you might get addicted and it might ruin your life. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking that chance.
No.
That'd be crazy. I want to have a family. I want to have a nice life.
Right.
I want to please God. Like, I'm not going to do that. You know?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all I have for that. But is there anything else that you want to say about that topic?
No, but it is really interesting.
Yeah, and I will say this, one parallel that's so interesting is that, when I was looking at it, is how, looking at all four of these topics, is that, of course, with drugs and alcohol, it's the, it messes you up on the outside, right? And then with pornography, it messes you up on the inside. And so imagine, I'm just saying a scenario, like if you're dealing with both, right?
Right.
Then imagine, like, you've got stuff going on the outside and on the inside, and that might be. And the only person that could redeem you from that is God, of course. But
that's devastating.
That'd be devastating to watch somebody go through.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but now you're gonna take over on lying. So what you got for that?
Like I always do, I have some statistics and facts. By the age of 2, children start to lie as part of learning social skills. So these are things they picked up from their friends and their parents. Mm-hmm. Emphasis on parents. Yeah. And very interesting that they're that young and they're already picking it up.
That's wild. I mean, that they're that young and they're picking that up. I mean, and one thing that when I was looking at research for this was like compulsive lying. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that's hard for me to wrap my head around is people get to the point where they lie so much that they see like even if it's like a small thing, the truth isn't a good option. It's like they'd rather just lie about it. And like this might be a stupid example, but like people get to the point where they lie about what they had for breakfast. It's like that,
just because they can.
Just because they can, and it doesn't. What does that do for you? It doesn't do anything for you. Like and I don't like mean to sound harsh on it, but it's one thing that I've tried to wrap my head around, and it's like, why would you do that? Like I get, because everybody's lied. I get it. Because you were scared of what the outcome was or what it may have been. But in the end of the day, it's going to be a lot better if you tell the truth.
That's the truth.
Uh-huh.
You get what I did there?
I got what you did there. Uh-huh. But what other statistics do you got?
60% of people lie at least once during a 10-minute conversation with a stranger or new acquaintance.
That's wild. And I'm thinking back on it because you were saying like new acquaintance. I couldn't imagine lying to you now. Like I don't think I ever have, but lying to you now.
Yeah.
That'd be terrible. Like, and if I have, whoops, sorry, but like that's terrible though, because you might, because you would start that relationship off on the wrong foot, like just by lying to them.
Yeah, and that kind of statistic, just kind of like the statistic I said on the last episode about how people spend 10 years of their life on their phone. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to really grasp and understand.
Yep.
But it's still very crazy.
Sure.
Men are more likely to lie to make themselves look better, while women tend to lie to protect someone's feelings or make others feel good.
I can see that.
Yeah, that seemed pretty obvious to me.
I can see that. Yeah.
Telling a lie requires more mental effort than telling the truth.
Dude, yeah.
And here's why. The brain has to, first, they got to invent a story. They have to suppress the truth. Mm-hmm. Then they have to remember the lie later so that they don't contradict. Mm-hmm. This effort causes measurable brain stress, which can show up in lie detector test. Fun fact about lie detector test.
Did you take one? Okay.
I have not, but they don't actually measure whether you lie or not. Uh-huh. They measure how stressed you are. Yeah. That's what they're measuring.
Yeah.
So if you in chronic liars who can lie without feeling stressed, it's just easy.
Yeah.
They often pass those tests.
Reminds me of that joke you said when we were talking in the seniors, or not the senior suite, the college suite one time. You were sitting there with a notepad, and Pastor Robbie walked in, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm giving Charlie a lie detector test." I'm like, "That's wild," as well. That was so funny. Because that's what it looked like. You had like lines scribbled on it, and that's what it looked like. It's like my stress levels were through the roof.
Yeah, you were not doing well. You're not. So small lies can escalate into bigger lies as guilt diminishes and dishonesty becomes easier over time. Yep. And that was like a fact that I saw on the internet, but it's like that's pretty biblical too. Mm-hmm. As time goes on, that sin is gonna feel less and less potent in your life, and it's gonna become easier and easier to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think that's the same just for any sin, regardless of what it is. Like, for the two that we talked about last episode, or, for lying and drugs and alcohol, like the more and more. Now, with drugs and alcohol, it may not be as easy because people can see what you're doing. But, like, for some of the other ones, if you lie about it and you can continue to lie about it and get comfortable with it, then, it'll be second nature, which is really, really bad. But, yeah, 100%.
Here's a more lighthearted one.
Okay.
When someone lies, their blinking rate decreases because their brain's focusing its effort to fabricate details of the lie.
That makes a lot of sense, though. Like,
You haven't blinked in a while,
Bruh, that's crazy. It's like just blinking 5 million times because I'm focused. That's crazy. So I would never, or try not to lie on this podcast. If I ever did, I would tell people I did. But
he's not blinking right now, folks. The average person can only detect lies 54% of the time. So you're barely better than just flipping a coin. So really, you can't tell is basically what that means.
No. And and it's so like the white lies, your parents tell you, oh, it's just a white lie, you'll be all right.
Yep.
I feel so bad about them. Like, I sit on them. I'm like, really? Why'd I do that? Like, sorry, God. Like, I would feel so bad about them, dude. Like,
yeah,
for real.
I got one more fact.
Okay.
It's more of a.
I got some too. So.
Oh, good. So we can keep going. While your nose doesn't grow like Pinocchio's, lying can cause increased blood flow to the nose, making it slightly warmer and redder. So that's
almost like
crazy.
Embarrassment. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, almost, but it's not. But some of the facts that I found was that close to 96% of adolescents lie to their parents, which was pretty wild.
So basically everyone. Uh-huh. That's funny.
Me too. I'm kidding.
Funny,
no.
But that's horrible.
And then watch it. Our parents gonna be like, they'll listen to this, or at least mine will be like, they'll listen to this and be like, so, what you lying to us about? No, I have not lied about. No, 82
4%.
Yeah, I guess so. 82% of high school and college students admitted to lying to their parents in the previous year. A tendency towards teenage lying is linked to higher risk in alcohol consumption and other risky behaviors. So lying could increase drugs and alcohol, and probably pornography consumption as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked all four of these, because they really get interlinked together at any given point in time.
It's all connected.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is, and I feel bad for people that they lean on this stuff for a crutch, you know, and they don't know the way out.
If only they do, they don't need a crutch, you know.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the way out, people, is Jesus. I know, it sounds really difficult, but it's not.
Yeah.
Now, you know, going back to what I said earlier, in the last episode, Jesus will offer you the way out, often multiple times, and it might be a different way out every time, but you have to take it. You know, He'll give it to you, but you have to do the work and take it. It's not just going to be I'll get you out, sure. It's not.
It's not a get out of jail free card.
No, and you might have to suffer the consequences, but it'll get you out of it.
Yeah.
You know, you might, for the drugs and alcohol, for example, you know, he'll get you out of it, but it'll be a long road. You might have to go to rehab, but he's going to help you through it. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, with lying, you'll have to, really think about what you're saying. That'd be one thing for sure. And that's something we got to think about, even if you're not trying to lie or, whatever. Just think about what you're saying. Because sometimes people don't, and they don't realize what their words have as an impact on other people. But, yeah, I would say, like I said, God will get you through it, but you have to put the work in.
Right. And something I've thought about is if I've sinned and I'm repenting to God, something I've tried to do is just almost ask God, discipline me. I want to learn from my mistakes, and whatever consequences you deem necessary, I'm gonna be thankful for it because it's because you love me. Mm-hmm. You know, like a good father does.
Yep. Well, I didn't realize I'd written these down. Teens lie more than any other age group.
I believe that.
Yeah, I do too. But, you know, it's and here was compulsive lying. Compulsive teen lying involves consistent, ongoing lies. And teens lie compulsively as a way to control what their parents know about their lives. And I won't name who it is, but I've seen that in somebody I know. Yeah. And it's what are you doing? And I say that as not to be in a funny way or whatever, but more just as a concerned and probably more confused, because I just don't understand that.
Right.
You know, sure, we've all lied to our parents, we've all lied to somebody, but, you know, they're there to help you, you know, and try to. And even if you get a little angry at them or whatever, because we all have, or if they're trying to give you advice, you know, it's better to tell them the truth than not to lie about it. You know, because like I said before, the compulsive side of things, that's the thing that's hardest for me to wrap my brain around.
Yeah.
Is to continuously just, you know, and I get it, you might be in a habit, and it's just like any other habit. That's the habit that would confuse me the most, I think. Out of all the habits to be in.
I agree. Would
be that one. You know, but then another fact about this would be, in addition, a study cited that that warm and trusting parent relationships, you know, could lower tendency toward teen lying as a result. The risk of teen alcohol abuse has also decreased. Researchers concluded that adolescents tend to disclose more information to parents when they perceive, you know, them as loving and supportive. Right. So again, it goes back to the family. It all starts there. That's why God called us to, you know, for men to be the leaders, and you know, we have to be, you know, caring and have that foundation where they can trust us. Because I've heard many stories about that where, you know, I don't trust my parents, or I don't trust my mom or dad, whoever, you know, grandparents, whatever, to tell them this, but I'm telling you this, you know. And while I'm happy that they want to confide in me, you should be telling your parents. Right. You should. I would hope that, you know. But it's upsetting for me that you don't trust them enough, to not, you know, tell them whatever it is. But
yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's all I have. But is there anything else you want to say? Anything?
I don't think I do.
All right, man. Well, I'll close it out. But I just wanted to say, for people that are listening on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube now, that I hope you enjoyed this 2-part episode, and that let me know about what if you liked it or not. Because it's a new type of episode that I'm trying to work in, and I don't know about you, Davis, but it was good for me just because of one, it got me more into scripture and diving into it and kind of what it meant, and also two, it changed up the format so I didn't have to do the same thing over and over again.
I agree. I enjoyed it,
and it kind of put it allowed us to do equal amounts of work in terms of putting the studies in and like putting, figuring out research. So it wasn't just me, which was like, and I'm not saying that as like I do everything for this podcast, because I don't. There's plenty of people that I talk to that, that are behind the scenes helping me. But it's nice to kind of take some of that load off a little bit and get a different take. And I'm excited to see what other deep dives we'll get into. But if there's anything that you guys want to suggest for, future topics, I know I've got a bunch worked in, but if there's anything you want to see or hear or whatever, let me know and we might work it out. But Davis, thanks for coming back on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. And I can't see what God does with both these episodes. With another episode of the Young Minds Podcast coming to a close, I just want to remind you that you are never alone and faith is action. So let's get out there.